President Biden awarded the Medal of Honor to one of the first black officers to be a part of the U.S. Special Forces.
The recognition for retired Colonel Paris Davis comes after a nearly 60-year delay. The Vietnam War veteran was nominated for the prestigious honor more than half a century ago, but the recommendation was somehow lost. Now, a volunteer group of advocates recreated and resubmitted it in 2016. But after all this time, the president put the blue ribbon carrying the award around Davis's neck in a ceremony at the White House.
The president is also meeting with the German Chancellor at the White House today to discuss support for Ukraine. They're also expected to speak about competition with China.
CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes joins us now with more on all of that. Nancy, welcome. So let's talk about Colonel Davis's story first. What was it about his story that actually drew the interest of the president?
Well, this is really one of those classic stories of heroism that everyone can relate to, whether it happened 6 years ago or 60 years ago. I mean, he was serving in the U.S. Army in Vietnam. His unit came under attack by the Viet Cong, and he ignored orders to retreat because some of his fellow service members were wounded, were calling out for help. And over the course of hours, even as they continued to come under attack, he sort of went out and rescued his unit mates one by one. He himself was shot in the process. And it was such a remarkable act of heroism that he got the Silver Star, and very quickly his superior put in for him to receive the Medal of Honor that he finally received today, all these years later. And yet, for some reason, the paperwork got lost twice. And Davis has said the first time was on him, the second time he doesn't know what happened, and there have been questions about whether his race was a factor. No one seems to know. The Army doesn't know, but the family says that they hope that the fact that things were put right today, at long last, is a sign of healing for both the family and for the country.
Yeah, no way to treat a hero. But as he showed CBS News, he had a new uniform made for the event, and he thanked CBS News and the coverage we brought attention to his story. But indeed, there are other wars and conflicts the U.S. is dealing with. Talk to us about what President Biden and the German Chancellor plan to discuss today at the White House when it comes to the conflict ongoing in Ukraine.
Yeah, so this is an interesting meeting. The Chancellor of Germany is coming over to the U.S. to sit down with the president to talk about the war in Ukraine specifically, something that they could speak about over the phone. They have spoken about recently in virtual sessions with other leaders, but clearly the Chancellor and the president felt that it was important to sit down and work things out in person. So among the issues we assume are going to come up in this meeting shortly, China, and the fact that China might be preparing to provide lethal aid to Russia, which obviously could change the balance of power in this war if it happens, and the economic implications of imposing sanctions on China, Germany's #1 trading partner, if that were to happen. Those sanctions would have an impact not only on China, but one would assume the rest of the world economy as well, because China's economy is so powerful. They're also going to talk about the status of this war 1 year in. Both the U.S. and Germany recently committed tanks to the Ukrainians. There was a bit of controversy there after the White House essentially implied that they kind of talked the Germans into it, pushed them into it. The Germans didn't appreciate that very much, so that will likely come up. And there is also speculation that these two leaders may want to hash out possible scenarios down the road for how this could all be brought to an end when what we're looking at is sort of a protracted stalemate at this point.
A lot of important things happening there at the White House today. Nancy Cordes, thanks for walking us through it all.
You got it.